Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Supposedly Fun. My name is Greg. I am here today to do my wrap up for the month of January. I am trying to sit somewhere that will avoid a lot of glare from the windows because it is a very bright day where I live. You will see if as soon as I lift my hands, weird things happen with the light. So I'll try to avoid that as much as possible. Anyway, that is neither here nor there. I had a good reading month in January. It was a bit of a slow start to the year, but it was an intentionally slow start to the year because I wanted to, December was really busy, work-wise, family-wise, and I read a lot of books last year, way more than I ever have since I started keeping track of such things. And I wanted a slower start to the year, and I really took advantage of the beginning of the month because I knew I was going to have content for my channel without reading books because I'd have my best of, my worst of for 2019, and I had some boxes I wanted to open. So I took full advantage of those to have a slow start to the year, and it felt really good. It was very nice. So I finished 5 books so far. One of them I actually did not finish. And I'm not going to... I got far enough that I'm going to include it. There was one DNF that I am absolutely not going to include going forward. Let's talk about the DNF first. I started the audio of Three Women by Lisa Taddeo. I had heard mixed things about it. I was really excited about the book before it was released. It's supposed to tell... it's a nonfiction book in which a journalist follows the lives of 3 women and interviews them about their desire and forms a book around it. But I'd heard some mixed feedback about how the author, Lisa Taddeo, conflated things that happen to the women, such as sexual assault or harassment, with their desire. And it actually is really problematic. And I wanted to try the book for myself, but immediately, in the first chapter, it talks about a woman who is sexually harassed by this man every time she leaves the house, like he's waiting for her. And immediately, Lisa Taddeo starts describing this as her desire impacting her life, and I'm listening to this on the audio and thinking, that's not her desire. This is something that's happening to her that she doesn't want. It's the man's desire. And given the feedback I'd heard about it, I just stopped, and I will not... because I only got into the first chapter. I don't usually DNF a book that quickly. But given what I'd heard about it, I decided to just listen to the advice that I was given and not engage with it. So I did, and I will not be including that book in annual wrap-ups. It certainly won't be a contender for the worst book of the year for me. But I could see right there in the first chapter the complaints that people had against it, and it seemed really gross. So why do it? So the first book I actually did finish in 2020 was Little Women by Louisa May Alcott. I'm going to try to hold it over here to avoid the glare. This is the version of it that I have that has underneath the dust jacket is really adorable. It's got this delicate cover, cute inside, gilt edges. It's just an adorable book. Anyway, so this was a holdover from 2019. I buddy read this with Britta Bowler. I thought it was a really charming book. Somebody commented on a previous video to say they absolutely hate this book and it makes them think book burning was not such a bad idea. Okay, calm down. Okay. I mean, one of the things to remember about Little Women is it is written for a younger audience, which, if you're reading it at age 37 like I was, yeah, it's not necessarily written for you. And it can be... a lot of the chapters have, like, the girls will learn a lesson and then there's a moral at the end. And I can see how people wouldn't respond to that. It's not a bad book. It certainly doesn't merit burning. So... I really enjoyed it. I don't know if it would be... in the beginning of the month, I said that it could be a contender for my favorite book of the year early on. I don't know. I think it's a contender for my almost favorites of the year because I already have 2 books that I would probably put ahead of it. It was a good reading month. So that is Little Women by Louisa May Alcott. Enjoyed this very much. And I really enjoyed the experience of reading it with Britta Bowler. This glare is terrible, so I apologize for that. I'm going to pile that there. After I finished Little Women, I tried to listen to an audio of a mystery thriller, that's not The English Patient, The Silent Patient by Alex Michaelides. I had heard really good things about this last year, and I'd struggled very much with mystery thrillers in 2019, so I figured giving that a chance it might be a fun way to start off the year. I am not one of those people who is really concerned about what the first book you read in a year is. I don't feel like it sets the tone for the year. I don't feel like it has any symbolic attachment to it. So I don't care. So I picked it up. Really did not like it, and I learned something about through the experience, which was that I think it's not that I'm struggling with mystery thrillers so much as I'm struggling with mystery thrillers in the post-Gone Girl world, and I'd already talked about that in a previous video. But to me, this book was entirely predictable because when you know the book is depending on a twist, you can kind of guess what the twist is. I didn't talk about this in the previous video, but when I saw the movie The Sixth Sense in the movie theater, I saw it when it had already been out for a couple of weeks, and people were I didn't know the ending, but people kept telling me there's a twist ending. You're not going to see it coming. So I went into it knowing that there was a twist ending, and what do you know? In the first scene, Bruce Willis gets shot. So immediately I think to myself, oh, so in the first scene, Bruce Willis gets shot, and this is a movie about a kid who sees dead people, and there's a twist ending. Point just being, if you know to expect a twist, it's not that exciting. And I really didn't think the writing was very good. I just was not into the plot, the structure. So I got halfway through, looked up some spoilers, and I was right about the book, and I just didn't feel like finishing it. So I don't think I dislike it enough for it to be like one of my worst reads of 2020, but it's definitely, if I did a thing for the most meh books of 2020, it would probably be in that. So after I came to this discovery, a friend of mine texted me to say that she was rereading the Sue Grafton books and they really hold up. Now, I love the Sue Grafton books, and I immediately picked up C is for Corpse, because when Sue Grafton died, I wanted to go back and reread the entire series up to where I had left off and then finish it, or get as far as she got, because the series is not technically finished. There is no Z. So I had already read A and B, and then last year I didn't read any of them, so I picked up C, and I just really love this series. I'm going to do a separate video where I talk about the first 3 books in the series, and so I don't want to talk about this too much, but it's just, to me, like, this is the kind of mystery thriller that I like. It's kind of no nonsense. It's not trying to manipulate you. I mean, it is trying to trick you a little bit in the way that mystery thrillers do, but it's not. It's mostly a character study about Kinsey Milhone, who is a fantastic character. I just love her. And there's a lot of really sharp observation and writing in these books, and I will talk more about that when I do the video about them. So stay tuned for that. The next book that I finished in 2020 was True Grit by Charles Portis. I picked this up because I wanted, in January, to get a head start on my goal for the year, which is read outside your comfort zone. And if you've followed along, you know, but just in case you don't, there are 2 facets to that. One, I want to read books outside of my geographical comfort zone, which is I mostly read books by authors from North America and Europe, and I want to read more books by authors from other areas. And the other side is that I want to read more books in genres I don't usually read, and in tandem with that, I want to read books that I might otherwise have passed off, so I can kind of challenge myself to do things that I wouldn't have done otherwise. So True Grit fell into that because it is a Western, and I can only think of 2 Westerns that I've read, and both of them are modern, The Sisters Brothers and News of the World. And I liked both of them, but I just don't know anything about the genre. Now, I want to read Lonesome Dove in March, but I was advised to read a different Western first, because Lonesome Dove will ruin the rest of the genre for me. Actually, I really liked True Grit a lot. I really enjoyed it. The character of Maddie Ross, who narrates the story, is so interesting. She is definitely one of the most indelible characters I have encountered in literature. She's very strict and organized and no nonsense, but she's also 12 years old and a girl in this Western world. And I think Charles Portis is actually very smart about how to use this character, especially as the framework of the novel. She is very uncompromising and does not deal in shades of gray. And then she deals with Rooster Cogburn, who she has been told is a man of grit who will help her avenge the death of her father. It's a very good book. It was a great way to kick off the Read Outside Your Comfort Zone challenge. Right away, I feel like Westerns are certainly something that I could enjoy, even though I haven't traditionally read them. So I'm eager to read more. I may pick up. I want to do something a little bit more of like a standard commercial western, like maybe a Zane Grey or is it Louis L'Amour or Louis L'Amour? For my whole life I've said Louis L'Amour, and I just realized, well, it's spelled Louis, so why am I pronouncing it as if it's French? Which is actually something that I do, and it always amuses my husband. There is a tire store in town called Les Schwab. Les is spelled L-E-S. I call it Les Schwab, as if it's Les Miserables. It amuses everybody. So, but it's just the way I am. So I don't know. If you know, let me know. Drop a comment. Is it Louis L'Amour or Louis L'Amour? Let's find out. But anyway, I may try one of those because True Grit. I might do a longer video about True Grit. I have a couple of videos that I'm backed up on, so I'll try to get to that, and we shall see. The fifth and final book that I read in the month of January was Song of Solomon by Toni Morrison. And holy cow, this is so good. I just finished this last night. I will probably do a longer form video about it where I talk about it. Again, I'm backed up on those, so I don't know. This was a buddy read with a commenter, Amelia reads, and that was a great experience. It was also interesting because she was reading the German translation of it. So at a couple of points, we could compare notes on the translation. For instance, there's a character named Pilate, P-I-L-A-T-E, and there's a pun about her name's similarity to the English word pilot, P-I-L-O-T. So we got to talk about how that worked in translation, and that was really interesting. And what's really great about this book is you can feel how intentional everything that happens is. And I got that right away because in the foreword, Toni Morrison kind of dissects the opening sentence of the book, and she talks about how everything in that sentence is a mission statement for the book and the themes that it will follow, even though it doesn't seem like it would be. And the opening sentence is, the North Carolina Mutual Life Insurance agent promised to fly from Mercy to the other side of Lake Superior at 3 o'clock. Sounds like a really simple sentence, but right away you have so much that recurs throughout the book. The idea of mercy, the theme of flying, and it just goes to show how goddamn smart Toni Morrison is. Everything in this book is intentional. Everything is thought out and planned. Nothing happens by accident. Nothing is escaping her. Amelia and I talked a little bit about, it was funny because at one point toward the end, Amelia was talking about how it seems like these characters are wishing for things or different qualities that they will never have or that white people have, and if they could only get those things, their lives would be better. And when she was talking about it, reminded me so much of The Bluest Eye, which I read last year, and which was Toni Morrison's first book, and it feels like there are elements of this that pick up on themes from The Bluest Eye, but this was published, it was not one of her later books, but it was published after The Bluest Eye, and it feels like it's an even more elevated version of The Bluest Eye. It's so good. I mean, it's a staggering achievement of a book. It's so good. This is definitely going to be a contender for one of my favorite books of the year. By the way, I had mentioned that there were two books that I would put ahead of Little Women. True Grit was the other one, and Song of Solomon, in case you couldn't tell. I just loved this book, and I only finished it last night, so I feel like I want a little bit more time to process. Amelia hasn't even gotten back to me yet with her thoughts on the ending. So, but I really enjoyed this, and I'm very eager to read more of Toni Morrison's books. I don't know when I want to read at least one more this year, and we'll see how that goes. But God, this was such a good book. I am in awe of Toni Morrison's talents. She's so good, and she's so beautiful. I mean, look at this author photo. It appeals to the gay man in me. Everything about it, the black dress, the pearls, the pose, everything. So there you go. Looking forward to reading more. So that's what I read. Obviously, if I had to pick a favorite, I would go with The Song of Solomon. If I had to pick a least favorite, well, I can't include Three Women. So let's just go with the one I only read half of and say The Silent Patient. I actually liked everything else, so that's good. So where am I going next? Well, I am going to be starting Such a Long Journey by Rohinton Mistry because this is going to be a buddy read, and I need to get a certain amount of way through it. by the first week of February so I can send my thoughts to my buddy readers, and we will do videos about that. So this is the book that I'm going to be starting today. I am also going to be reading The Far Field next by Madhuri Vijay. Now, I can't tell you I can't give you feedback on what I think of this once I start, but this is for the BookTube Prize, and I'm really looking forward to it. I already have some preconceived notions about it because I've heard some reviews that were positive, I've heard some reviews that were negative. I'm eager to try it for myself and see what I think. I'm really excited to do it. It is a chunky book. I also have the audio for this one. So I'm thinking I'm going to read Such a Long Journey in print, and I might try the audio of The Far Field and see how that goes. But yeah, these are the next 2 books on the docket. And then I have 5 other books to read for the BookTube Prize. So, and it just occurred to me that I will not be able to give you guys feedback on them because I have to rank the books, and then when I could talk about what I thought of them once the next round has been announced, or once the results have been announced. So, so February is going to be a very BookTube Prize heavy month for me. I got 6 books to get through for that. I want to have them done in the month of February, so that in March I can focus on March of the Mammoths and do Lonesome Dove. I'm looking at another buddy read with Britta Bowler then for Disappearing Earth, and I want to have my slate clean for that. So let's see if I can do it. So anyway, that is what I read in the month of January. It's not a lot, but the quality was really good. And one thing I'm definitely going to do in the year of 2020, I don't want to worry about how much I'm reading. I want to, especially with this reading challenge that I've set for myself, read outside your comfort zone. If I'm going to be reading difficult books, I don't want to worry about quantity. I think I got caught up with the quantity a little bit in 2019 because I started realizing that I was reading way more than I had since I started keeping track of such things. And I got excited about that, but then I felt like I had to keep pace, and in order to keep pace, and plus my channel was new, and I felt like I needed to keep reading books in order to have things to talk about. And this year, I am not going to let myself stress about that. It's not worth it. So that's the plan. We'll see how it goes. So there you go. And I would love to hear what you have been reading, what you've been up to in January, what you're looking forward to in February. The downside of having such a heavy BookTube Prize focus in February is going to be that I'm not going to be able to participate in, is it Blackathon? I have it in front of me. Let me look. Yeah. So the Broken Spine had messaged me or commented on one of my previous my book haul where I mentioned that I had the 5th season by N.K. Jemisin to say that would be a perfect fit in February for Blackathon. And I don't think I'm going to be able to get it in because I really need to make sure I get all of these BookTube Prize books in and judged and clear my slate for March, as I said, which is a shame because I feel like that would be a perfect time to read the 5th season, which does also hit another different genre for my Read Outside Your Comfort Zone challenge, which is sci-fi and fantasy. So, it is what it is. But anyway, again, I would love to hear what you've been up to, what you're looking forward to. Are you going to be participating in Blackathon in February, and what are you going to read? Let me know. You know what to do. The comment section is down there. And anyway, as always, thank you for your time. I really appreciate it. I am hanging out with my little buddy Jameson right there. She's asleep in a sunbeam and just enjoying the day. So I hope wherever you are, you're enjoying your day. And again, thank you for your time. I will be back soon. Until then, happy reading.